let's start off with a simple fact. I said the subconscious is the equivalent of a hard drive, okay? And so for a moment, let's consider a computer. You got a hard drive, you got programs in it. I said, talk to the hard drive and see if you can change the program. And all of a sudden you realize, well, you can talk to your blue in the face, you're not changing that program. I go, aha, you need to do like a record. You have to push a button to make this action. To change your belief system and your programs, you actually have to go through a process to do this. A lot of people say, well, I'll just give myself a good talking to. I'll talk to myself. And then I always laugh because I say, well, who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking to the subconscious. I go, there's nobody in the subconscious. It's a hard drive. It's just got programs. You're not talking to anybody. You're wasting a lot of your time at this point. I say, you want to make a recording, then you have to use the process by which the recordings went in the first place. I go, well, what was that? I go, well, if we have a moment, I'll give you 3 ways of changing the belief systems. And they'll start off with the way you got the belief system in the first place. I say, what was that? Your brain was operating at a lower vibration than consciousness, theta. And theta is hypnosis. So if you do hypnosis, and the easy way is called self-hypnosis, that is the primary way of putting a new program in. I go, well, how do you do self-hypnosis? What's it all about? I say, well, you have to get into theta. And well, theta is just below consciousness. I go, yes, it is. So the simple fact is this. Every night as you go home from a high working day of beta, high vibration, you relax. That's calm consciousness. Alpha calms you down. And the moment you close your eyes and you're drifting off, you disconnected consciousness. But the brain's still functioning, but it's now functioning at the next vibration below consciousness, which is theta. So the brain is in a state of record after you're fallen asleep. So if you put earbuds in or earphones on and play a program, you can start it just before you fall asleep, and you're going to hear what's going on in the program a bit. But the moment you fall asleep, the program is playing directly into the subconscious via hypnosis. It's called self-hypnosis, okay? So you want to change your life. You find a program that supports what you want to change. There's so many self-help programs that you can put into a computer and do this. So basically, it's you find one of those programs, and when you go to bed at night, you put the earbuds in, you fall asleep, program's playing, goes into the subconscious. You have to repeat it a number of times because the period of theta is not very long before you go into the lowest vibration, delta, which is sleep. So every night, there's a period just after you fall asleep where you are capable of doing self-hypnosis. And whatever's playing through those earphones, earbuds, is going straight into the subconscious programming, straight in, okay? So that's number 1 way of doing it, and that's actually the first way you got programs anyway, okay? Number 2 is you still downloaded programs after age 7. You learn how to drive a car, play an instrument, ride a bike, whatever you were doing. I said, well, how'd you learn these? He said, because they became habits. I said, habit. You repeat. You play it again and again. You repeat a process. You repeat it. You repeat it. That's how you created a habit. You want a new habit? Then start creating a behavior for a new habit. The new age wisdom is fake it till you make it. I go, what the hell is that? I go, well, let's say you're not a happy person. I said, well, what if you want to be a happy person? I said, all day long, no matter how unhappy you are, it's not relevant. You say to yourself, I am happy. I am happy. And you repeat it as many times during the day as you can. That's repetition. Repetition is what makes habit. There'll be a day where you'll wake up and you won't even have to say I'm happy because it's been downloaded already. So both the first hypnosis part and the repetition part, they're time. You got to use a lot of time to do that, okay? But those are the 2 natural ways you got the habits in the first place. And because we're facing an evolutionary upheaval at this time, necessity is the mother of invention. There's a necessity to reprogram faster, because time is an element. So there's a new version of psychology called energy psychology. I go, what about it? I go, it's not the conventional cognitive talk therapy that says, oh, let's go over your life and talk about who did what to who, and that person did this, and your friend did that, and whatever. I go, that doesn't help anybody, in my opinion, for the reason is this. You're repeating the same problem that caused you to have a problem, to go back over, to replay how you got the bad program. It's like you're killing the messenger over the message. Who did it? Who caused this? It's not relevant who caused it. You are here today with the program that you picked up back there. So going backwards, it's not going to help you. You want to go forwards. So energy psychology is interesting because it doesn't give a damn about what your history is. It says, where are you now? Today. What's your issue? Well, we talked about you can see your issue because it's the character of your life. So what the new energy psychology? It engages, some of them engage something called super learning. What's super learning? I say, a child under 7 is in a state of super learning. I go, what do you mean? All it has to have is one experience to remember it the rest of their lives. Download, boom, instantly. You can engage super learning. Really? Oh, yeah. If you've seen brain cells, everybody has, there's a line right down the middle, and we call them left hemisphere, right hemisphere, the two halves of the brain. The two hemispheres have different functions. For example, the left hemisphere is intellectual. Words are the big thing, can do all that. The right hemisphere is emotional, okay? And so I got intellectual, emotional. Under age 7, both hemispheres are integrated. And so every experience you have has an emotional character to it and an intellectual character to it, okay? So the issue is, if you want to change these, the idea is you can bring the hemispheres back into sync, because after age 7, they don't physically separate, they functionally separate. So after age 7, every 2 or 3 hours, your life is coming from one hemisphere or the other hemisphere, and that's like a wave. Sometimes you're more intellectual during the day. Sometimes you're more emotional during the day than intellectual and emotional. So it's a wave. It's called ultraradiant wave. And I go, so why is that important? Well, it says you're not integrating both hemispheres after age 7. But if you do an exercise that can integrate those two hemispheres, then you can go back to the super learning character that the kid under 7 has. I go, well, how do you do that? I said, well, it's a physical exercise. You can do it. I go, my right hand, my right arm is controlled by my left hemisphere. My left arm is controlled by my right hemisphere. I say, yeah, but watch what happens if I take my right arm, which is controlled by the left hemisphere, and if I cross the midline, it gets picked up by the other hemisphere because it's now in the zone that is controlled by the right hemisphere. So it's controlled by the left hemisphere, but the moment I cross the midline, it also gets controlled by the other hemisphere. So if you cross both your arms and go something like that, you're integrating both hemispheres. And if you cross your ankles, same thing, okay? It's very calming. This is number one. This is why people don't pay any attention, when they're relaxing, take a look at their legs. They're usually in a chair and their ankles are crossed. That's part of the integration. That's a calming experience. But if you do both arms and legs and get into that integrated state, you can download a new belief 10, 15 minutes, walk away 15 minutes later with a new operating system. And it's the most amazing experience. I mean, I talk about it not just because I know the technology and all that. I talk about it because my life has been so completely and profoundly changed because of the intervention of these processes, psychological processes. But give you an example. Look, programming for 7 years. My father and mother had a very dysfunctional relationship. I'm a kid in the family. I'm watching my father because I'm downloading that role. And what did I download? His dysfunctional behavior. I didn't know. I was just downloading it. Yeah, but then for the first 40 years of my life, I could not get a good relationship off the ground. Why? Because unbeknownst to me at those early days, 95% of my life was coming from the program I downloaded from my father. So any potential mate would be seeing the behavior that my father was playing and then say, nah, I'm not interested in that relationship and leave me. And I didn't realize that until I changed the program. And it was so wonderful because once I changed the program, it was so fun because first I couldn't find a mate. And once I changed it and put a better relationship programming in, there were many opportunities, And the beautiful part is I met my partner, Margaret, when I was 50. And we've been on a honeymoon 28 years in a row now, every day. And I'm talking honeymoon every day. Wake up and be in love with life. And I go, how? I had to change that program. That was really necessary. And I couldn't have written my book if I didn't change some of the programs about what I was writing in the book, because as a scientist, I was going to write a book that included spirituality and consciousness, which was forbidden in the dialogue of scientists in the medical school. We never used those words. And my subconscious was saying, if you write this book, you're going to lose all your scientific colleagues here. You can't write that stuff. And so I started the book a couple of times and got it halfway finished, and then it just petered out. I couldn't figure it out. It was my subconscious saying, if you finish this book, you're going to lose your position in the scientific community. Rewrote that program. And I love it. I have to just say, because it was, here I am struggling to write this book for a few years. Can't write it, get halfway through. And so I was doing what we call a balance, an energy psychology balance. And it was for the future. What do you want? So I remember saying, creating what I want, how this book to come out. I said, well, it's taken a long time. I want it to be fast. It's been a struggle. So I said, I want it to be fast. I want it to be easy. And then I thought, why not make it fun? So I did a psychological balance and programmed. Easy, fun, fast. Forgot about it. It was only a 15, 20-minute thing. A few months later, I finished the book. And I remember I was on the last page, reading it for the last time. I'm going to send it to the publisher when I finish this. Got to the very last page, the last paragraph. It was on the table. I pushed myself away from the table and said, wow, that was kind of fast, and it was easy and fun. And all of a sudden I said, oh my God, those are the exact words that I put into the program. I'd forgotten I even did the balance for that. And then the words came out exactly what I put into the program is how it worked out. So for me, it was really, wow, we have to understand we are creators, we have programs, and the programs can help you, or the programs can take it away. Kiyosaki wrote a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What did it say? Well, if you came from a rich family, guess what? You grew up with programs of maintaining your money and making money, okay? When you grew up in a poor family, you grew up with, oh, it's not going to work, life's hard, this isn't going to be easy, we're not getting anywhere. And I say, the kids in those two families grow up. The rich ones stay rich, the poor ones stay poor. Generally, that's what's happening. Why? That was the download that came from each of those different forms of family life. All of us have been programmed. And so basically, your life is, unfortunately, 95% from the program.